All right. Hello, Gun Nation. We'll give it a couple seconds to let everybody jump in. And I have a special guest tonight. If y'all remember way back when, we used to do the Three Guys Gun Chat. It was myself, KS Gun Guy, in 1776. We were trying to grab him, but unfortunately, he could not make it this time. So we'll do it another time. But how are you doing, KS?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. How
Good.
about you?
Oh, living the dream, man. You know, but how's everything, your life and guns and all that stuff been treating you?
Can't complain. Can't complain.
And if you did, nobody would listen, right?
Yeah, it's exactly right. So this shot show is the first time in a few years that a few things looked kind of exciting. So saving my pennies for a couple of things. So
Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump off into it because I was going to ask you. Actually, I had it written down. Did anything tickle your fancy at Shot Show? And if so, what it was, what you were thinking about, and we'll kind of skip the intro with everybody. We'll try to say hi to people periodically, but I don't want to do a roll call because I've only got KS, this evening, so I want to try to make the use of it. So
roll calls are overrated. You all know who you all are. So
yeah, and I love all of them. I love everybody. So, but what's tickling your fancy?
well, and some of you may know, I recognize some names out there for sure. I'm a Beretta collector, and I own the entire Cheetah or the '80s series, with the exception of the '83, because the '83, to my knowledge, has never come to the American shores. All the other ones have, so I've got them all. And so the '80X is very much in line with my collection. Very excited. So I've got an order in for one of each of
Okay.
them, the black one, and then the I guess it's kind of the, I don't know, a special edition or an introductory edition or whatever it is.
Yeah, it
So
was
I
like gold kind of.
yeah, kind of a bronze and black
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah, it looked pretty good.
Uh,
I thought it looked pretty nice.
so yeah, I'm extremely excited for that. That'll be a lot of fun. The rest of it, it's fine. I mean, the Archon, the Type Beep 2 or whatever it is,
Yep.
that would be kind of fun. I like the Archons quite a bit. Some of them are a little bit boring, but the ADX, those are very exciting to me.
That's cool. Anything else, or just pretty much the Berettas?
I think those are probably it. I do like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe SIG is doing the P320, and it's a Legion, but it's got the built-in comps similar to the extra macro. So I would be curious to see that. I'm not much of a 320 person. In fact, I'm really not much of a plastic SIG person these days, but I'd still like to see one, see what
Okay.
it's like.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say I know that we've gone through so many guns over the years. You and 17 and myself. And a lot of them were the polymers or the Tupperware guns. As I joke around and say it, nothing's wrong with them, but sometimes you want to kind of do something different. And, I know that you revamped your collection, and a lot of people probably don't know it. But, like, what are you into now? I mean, pretty much, I know you mentioned Beretta, but what
Mhm.
else?
So I focus a lot on, yeah, of course, Beretta, SIGs, but again, not the plastic SIGs. In fact, I don't own any plastic SIGs that I can think of. But the majority of the P series, everything from, I mean, like the 230, 232, 225, all of those. So I enjoy those quite a bit. Let's see what else. Smith and Wesson's, the old Smith and Wesson semi-autos, like 5906 and
Yeah.
all of those guns. I mean, first gun I ever owned was a 915.
Okay.
So I've tried to get a little smattering of all those. They're probably 60 or 70 models of
Yeah.
those guns, so it's very difficult to get them all. But just a sprinkling of those is fun. I've also gotten back into HK. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and the USPs. Of course, I've got a couple of P30s, but the USPs I've kind of redeveloped a fondness for. Not only 9 but also 45, and I picked up a couple of Osprey suppressors, both
Yeah.
in 9 and 45, and I think they go together so well. So the USPs are fun. Picked up a Mark 23. It's a ridiculous gun. It's a boat anchor, but at the same time, it's got some cool factor to it as well.
Yeah.
So those have been fun. Those have been a really good time. But that's pretty much it. That's just about the whole collection, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the USPs myself. I had the 45 and really enjoyed it. It was a blast. Somebody just really, really wanted it way more than me, and I really wasn't using it that much at that particular time. So I was like, okay. And I mean, I like it. It's a great gun. I loved it when I had it. But for me, I can, if it came to a 1911 45 or a USP 45, I'm a 1911 guy. But nothing wrong with them. They are great guns.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of people are saying, they bought Glocks, and some people are saying, "Hey, I need to get a Glock." Do you still own any Glocks?
I own one.
Okay.
Yeah, I own one 19X that's been custom done by Legion Precision. So I run it suppressed. It's kind of a home defense, and then a little bit of an example. When I'm at center fire, I sometimes use it as an example just to show, like, here's what a suppressed pistol looks like and how all the parts work and all that kind of thing. And so that helps a little bit, but that's it. Otherwise, Glocks, there's nothing wrong with them at all. I'm just not a fan anymore. They don't inspire anything from me. I know they work, and again, that's why I have one for home defense. But aside from that, nah, hard pass.
Yeah, and me with Glock, I have, what do I have, three of them. But I just, I think also for like SHTF, things like that. I mean, I think everybody should at least have one, maybe two Glocks, just in case. Um, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
A-Dubs is asking, KS, are you going to dip your toe into the 70 series Berettas?
Yeah, I've got a 70 series 380. I would love to get a 32 ACP. And every time I find one that I kind of want to bid on, I have to remind myself that there are other things that I also want to bid on. So just kind of a choice. And at some point I will do that. But I've got a 380 70 series. But it's a good, it's in great condition. It's a good looking gun. And then I've got some other ones as well. I mean, like a 1934. I'd like to get I think it's a 1951, which was like the precursor to the 92. That would be neat. With the, I think it's not a heel release, but it's kind of a grip release, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike is saying, KS, I'm shocked. No Glock 26 anymore, because that was your baby back in the day.
Yeah, that was my bag for sure. Yeah, no, I've just kind of gotten away from most of them. I really have.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got some really great people on here. And like I said, I'm not doing a roll call, but I know y'all are there. Lake Ozark saying hi. A bunch of people are saying hi, and I really appreciate it so much. Um, I had some questions I was going to ask y'all. Oh, also, I wanted to make the announcement tonight because a lot of people still don't know. I did start another channel, okay? And I did actually take a subscriber's recommendation for a name. It was Floridian. I don't know if he's on here. I haven't seen him yet. But my other channel is called Big J's Pit Stop. So basically what it is I'm going to be going around to different places. I've already got a couple of videos on there if y'all want to check it out, but it's Big J's Pit Stop. And there is a link in the description or in the pinned comment if y'all want to see it or whatever and go over and check it out. I appreciate it. But basically what it is, real quick in a nutshell, is I'm going to be going to some cool places that I really enjoy, like restaurants, convenience stores, whatever. Going to be checking out some tricked out muscle cars. Also, I filmed one today, but I don't know if I can get away with it. But I don't know if y'all know this, but I built a car that my wife drives. It's a hot rod. It's completely tricked out, super fast. And I did some driving in Mexico today. So I might throw that out, might not, I don't know, because it does show a lot of street signs and things like that. So the Popo might come find me. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing on that channel. So it's Big J's Pit Stop if you want to check it out and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. But and also real quick, Bowtac, I always talk about them. They've got Lancer mags on sale, ARs and things like that. So, go check it out. Yeah, I see Rabbi. But anyway, if y'all need mags, Bowtac's got a bunch of Lancer mags on sale. And yeah, we definitely have to put this up. The new channel is him lingering in Walmart bathrooms. No, I won't be doing any of that.
Rabbi, you'll never change.
Yeah, yeah. I promise I won't be doing any of that.
Uh,
But yeah, and I did want to ask you. I've got a couple of questions that people have asked me, so I thought, hell, we'll answer them together. I had a question that was, what do you think about night sights on a gun? What's your opinion?
I mean, I have night sights on a lot of guns. I don't have a problem with them at all. They work now. Anymore. I typically, if I get an ideal setup for most things, it's going to be a high definition sight up front with the night sight, and then a blacked out rear. So not complicated in the back at all. I just want to be able to pick up that front sight and run with it, and that's it. But I'll take a 3-dot if necessary. And night sights are fine. Are they an absolute? No, not necessarily, but I think they can come in handy in certain situations.
Yeah, and my answer to that, and I've said it before, I used to be every gun in the world had to have a set of night sights on it. It was just that's the way I was. If I bought a gun, I put night sights on it. That was, gosh, probably 4 years ago. Now, personally, I'm actually into more of a fiber optic front with a blacked out rear because on a lot of my guns, I run weapon lights and I carry a handheld. I think you should have both because the night sights really only help you find your gun. If you were to drop your gun in pitch black, you would be able to see your night sights and know where it is. Of course, when you're holding it this way, it helps you line it up. But if you're shooting with a dot, you don't really need night sights. Um, I think they're a little more overrated than a lot of people think. That's just my opinion. I'm not knocking anybody that has them or that likes them. I used to be one of those guys. I was like, you're an idiot if you don't have night sights. However, it just really shows you the sights. And since I've been a dot guy for 2 or 3 years now, I don't really see a reason to have them. I think a light is more critical because your night sights are not going to light up the bad guy. So, I think that's a little more important to have a flashlight, a pocket flashlight, or a weapon light. That's just my opinion. So, but, and then here's another one. I thought that was pretty funny. Apparently, they don't watch any of my videos. But are you shy or outgoing?
Shy.
Yeah,
Definitely shy.
I was gonna say.
So you got to ask yourself, do you think, and I suppose it can't be an absolute, but how many people create YouTube channels that are shy? Not saying it can't happen. It can, but how many
Yeah.
are going to be shy people, right? I mean, you're probably going to be more on the gregarious side of things, a little bit more extroverted if you're going to be putting yourself out for public consumption and public ridicule, perhaps.
Yeah.
So that's a bizarre question that I think probably didn't have a lot of thought behind it.
Well, and what I think it was like one of those funny questions. Like I get questions like all the time: pineapple on pizza, yes or no? I think that was somebody probably just goofing. But I've been asked that like 2 or 3 times. Are you a shy person? Are you outgoing? And I think what they're getting to: are you the same in public as you would be on your channel? I think that might be what they're asking, but they just don't say it that way. But I'm not shy. I'll walk up to anybody and say hi and stuff like that. I'm definitely not shy. But and I didn't, from heck, we've met in person multiple times, and you're definitely not a shy person either.
It's funny though. Ironically, and Paul, just so you know, 365. I'm very boring. But in certain situations, I am actually very quiet. I'm not shy. I will certainly share my thoughts, but I don't necessarily offer them up, especially in a more crowded situation. And if a lot of people I'm not necessarily used to hanging around with, I'll usually be a little bit quiet, listen to the conversations, observe people, watch, that sort of thing. I just, enough people are offering things. I just don't always want to be another person to add to the noise. So I again not shy. I'm not afraid to talk, but there are times where I'm pretty quiet.
And
Pretty
I would
reserved.
say you're not shy. You're just reserved at that time,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I am the same way. Like if I'm at the gun store and I hear two guys gaggling about guns or whatever, and one's just dropping some complete and utter crap, I don't jump in and go, "Man, you're wrong," or "That's stupid." I just, you know. Now I've just been standing there and had people ask my opinion and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or, "Hey, some of the guys at the store know me, and they'll be like, 'Hey, Big Johnson, I'm not familiar with this gun. He's not either. Can you give us some information?'" And if they ask, I'll be glad to, but I don't just walk around and start spewing stuff. But Pistol Pete has actually a great question, and that was one that I had written down. But so, KS, what is your current EDC?
Just answered Paul actually. Yeah, P365, very
Okay.
boring. But here's the thing. It's got good capacity, fine caliber, very small, doesn't take up any room, and it doesn't weigh you down. I think it's sort of the best of all worlds for a carry purposed firearm rather than kind of a do it all or anything like that. So 365, totally boring.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of people carry it. It's just for my personal thing, it's just too small for me. I mean, with my grip and stuff, that's a me problem, not a anybody else problem.
Yeah.
And Keenan has moved. He is in the Carolinas now, so
Okay.
he has got to a freer part of the world. So
Good job.
welcome, welcome. Joseph actually has a really good question. Have you ever shot a Chambers custom gun? And can you elaborate a bit if you have? Have you ever shot one, KS?
Nope, never seen one.
I I have seen them, of course, in videos, but I have never had the opportunity to try one. From what I understand and what I've seen, they look really nice. Probably a great gun. I just personally have not shot one, so I don't have any experience with them. I would love, sometimes I'm at the range and people have really cool stuff. I've shot a Hayes Customs 2011, brand new one. I've got video on it, but a buddy of mine bought one and he was like, "Hey, I want you to try this out." And I was like, "Cool." But I have not shot a Chambers yet.
Hmm.
So, and bald, I actually like pineapple on my pizza. I know, call me weird, call me whatever, but I do
Communist.
jalapenos. I do a ton of jalapenos and some pineapple too
Oh,
every once in a
God.
while.
Communist.
Yeah. Hey. You know what's funny is when I went to Italy, uh, we were in Florence and Tuscany and stuff, and they were making pizzas. These awesome pizzas, and I was really just. I know that a lot of these places do not have them, and they would probably beat you with an inch of your life if you said that. But we were at this one place, and it was called Renbig Rebiglios, yes. And anyway, I asked, "Can I get pineapple on my pizza?" And they did not even know what it was. They were like, "What? You know what?" And I said, "Pineapple. Like the a fruit, pineapple." And they were like, "No, we don't have that." And I thought, "Oh, that's pretty funny."
Surprised they didn't kick you out.
No, I mean they were cool about it, but no, I loved Italy. That place was awesome, a lot of fun. Let's see here. All right. Anything into, and I know you've had them in the past. I don't know if you still have a bunch of them, but still into ARs and rifles, or not so much anymore?
I mean, I still have a few, but it's never been a big part of my collection or anything like that. So I prefer PDWs, and of course, right now we're in a sort of a weird
Yep.
state. so
Yep.
so there are things that maybe disassembled and parts were no longer around or whatever right now. So we're doing the wait and see on a few things. But anyways, yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of ARs and PDWs and such.
Okay. Yeah, and I did see. Well, it's a newer rifle that I thought was kind of cool. It's the CZ 600 trail rifle, and it's a bolt gun. You probably maybe saw a video on it, but your stock pushes in and stuff, and it looks kind of cool. But it is in 223, 223 556. But I was like, man, that thing needs to be in 300 blackout. But the price is right. CZ is saying they're going to make it in 7.62 by 39. They will take the Bren 2 mags, and they are going to make it in 300 blackout. So it takes standard, regular American AR-15 mags, for the 223, and it will take that for the 300 blackout. But I thought it was pretty interesting. The price is not bad. I thought it was kind of a cool gun, but we'll see if it hits and when it does hit or anything like that. But I thought it was kind of cool. But and then also I was asked this question. I posted up in the community tab. I just posted a picture of the CR 123s. I buy them like by the little cases,
Yeah.
In your lights, if it doesn't have a built-in rechargeable battery, do you use rechargeable batteries or the lithium batteries?
Lithium.
Okay. And I just posted the picture and said, hey, who else buys them, 48 at a time? And people were like, I can't believe you don't use rechargeables. I only use rechargeables, and no, you shouldn't use regular batteries. And I was like, man, I mean, if you look like with my thermals, some thermals say do not. I mean, it's actually printed in there, do not use rechargeable batteries. And then Streamlight, actually, in a lot of their nomenclature, says do not use rechargeable batteries. And the only reason I really don't like rechargeable, and these are older rechargeables, they're probably a lot better now, but under recoil, I've had them flicker like really bad. I've had some batteries just completely go out. Like, I would charge them, they showed a full charge, and then you'd plug them in or put them in the light and you'd get like 10 minutes out of it. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because you're constantly charging it, then you're putting it in the light, charging it again, putting it in the light. Over a longer period of time, I'm sure it does save you a little bit of money, but also for your peak, and I've seen this said before, for your peak power, you should use the lithium batteries unless it's like a cloud defensive light where it is designed strictly for, the high output, rechargeable batteries. But that's just my opinion. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. Use what you want to, but if I look at it and it says don't use rechargeable, because if anything spiked in that rechargeable battery and it took out something, I don't really want them to go, well, we can see you used a rechargeable battery. So that's kind of like, what I do, But let's see here. Okay, Paul H has a good one. What is your newest favorite gun purchase?
Oof. What was the last one I got? I feel like it was I think it was kind of the completion of the USP collection, and it was just a USP standard. So it's a full size. I think it's a 4.25 barrel length because the compact is like 3.58 inches or some weird screwy thing. So that was probably the last one. You'll laugh. In preparation for the ADX stuff, I decided to get a TSOS Fatih, and so Beretta contracted them to carry the Cheetah on. So they have all the tooling and manufacturing for the Cheetah line, and so they do essentially a Beretta 84, and they are dirt cheap, but apparently they run like tops. So I have one of those on the way just for funsies, just to play around with. I mean, for like $300 or whatever it is. I mean, that why not? Yeah. But that's it. Otherwise, nothing else recently, and nothing else in the works at all.
Okay. It's really funny, and you could probably appreciate this since you're into the old ones, but I still actually have my very first pistol and what's funny is back in the day, I received it for high school graduation. But it is a Smith & Wesson 439, and it has the upgraded walnut grips, the combat. That was when you ordered it. It was the combat sights. So that was my very, very first pistol. Now I had shot pistols way before then, but it was my own pistol. So I still have it to this day. It's excellent. The trigger, believe it or not, is butter. It's a great pistol. I don't really care much for the grips. The wood grips, they're kind of I'll just be honest. I mean, they were an upgrade, but they're kind of janky. Um, but Lock doesn't make anything for that. But have you played with a Smith and Wesson 439?
439.
It's the single stack 9 millimeter. The little decocker, the single action. That trigger is like
Do,
3 pounds.
are you sure you aren't talking about a 39?
Well, the official is a 439.
When was it made?
It was made in 1986.
Well, that wouldn't be a model 39.
Yeah.
It's too late. I'd have to go take a look at the models and see.
Yeah, it's an old one, but it's actually I've got it on the channel. See if I can.
Yeah. So that would be generation 2, because the 39 was the precursor, and then there was the 59 as well. Yeah, no, it's a good looking gun. I've got a 639 stainless, but it does not have it does not have the shielded rear sights. I can't stand the shielded rear sights. I think that looks very bizarre.
Yeah.
So I've tried to have everything in my collection not have the shielded rear sights. That's just those are so weird to me. I get the practical side of it, but aesthetically, I'm not a fan. But admittedly, I really prefer the 3rd gen stuff, mostly like the 5906 and things like that. I mean, I just prefer those.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, it's a really fun gun, and it still shoots super accurately. Of course, you can't. I'm not going to put millet or anything and put a dot on it because it's original. But it's a great gun.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Joseph saying, just wanted to get your opinion on the Marvel cut for 1911. I do not see any guns that have it. However, no chamber guns do. Okay, I'm not familiar with the Marvel cut, so
No.
it might be a chambers thing.
Hmm.
And yeah, I have. I'm sure everybody does, but I've got extra batteries I carry in my go bag and in my truck and all that other stuff because you never know, when they're going to take a poop. But I do change them very often just to make sure they're peaked. Let's see here. Anything, and I wanted to ask you, I know you played with 1911s and 2011s and stuff like that. Any 1911s, 2011s in the collection?
I mean, I've got some 1911s. I no longer have any 2011s.
Okay.
I don't, nothing wrong with them at all.
Yeah.
I just have kind of moved on to other things.
Sure.
So I don't necessarily need the super fast, low drag kind of guns anymore. It's not my speed.
Sure.
It really isn't. So I mean, if I had to get back into 2011 for whatever reason, I'd probably go back to a Staccato P. That was such a good gun, and I like the slightly heavier gun, just translated into a really great shooting experience. But the Staccatos, the price has gone up. And to me, the juice becomes less worth the squeeze as the price continues to go up. So,
yeah, I mean, and I know, well, and I mean, another reason, I mean, I really do like Staccato guns, don't get me wrong, but of course, they're a Texas company. I try to support Texas companies too, and I do enjoy their firearms a lot. But, I mean, we're going to start seeing in the marketplace, other contenders are going to come in, maybe lower pricing, things like that. And of course, Staccato doesn't use any MIM parts. It's all, billet and stuff like that. I mean, we all know that. So there's a reason that some can be a lot cheaper and some can be more expensive. But, they are creeping up there. I noticed, I think they've already gone up another like $100 and $200 on some of their models. But, who knows? I mean, it is what it is. But,
yeah.
And like I said, everybody has a choice. That's the great thing about America. Get what you want. Anything else? I mean, I know that, you still are at the gun store and stuff like that, but anything that you're seeing and I wanted to ask you this too, since you are doing that also still, is there like a couple, doesn't have to be just one, but is there a couple of guns that you're seeing traded in more often than other types of guns?
Probably Glock. I see more Glocks than anything else. We almost always have a few used Glocks more than anything else out there.
Okay.
Next, probably going to be ARs. The AR market is so over flooded. If you've got new ones on the shelf, you're going to have a hard time selling them. Just because first, everybody and their grandmother bought one between 2020 and 2021. And it's just right now people aren't looking for them as much. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, Glock is probably the most consistent one that I see come in. And that's because there are a million of them out there. It's not because they're bad. It's just because there's so many of them. It's you see them come in all the time, probably 3 or 4 a week, if not more.
At Texas Gun Experience, what I see, when I'm up there, I always look at their used selection and things like that. And they have a very small used selection that, they're like usually premium type guns or ones they can, sell pretty quickly. But the ones that I see, then there's 3. One of them is Glock, because there's so many different models, and maybe somebody wants a MOS and they trade in their old 19 or something like that without an MOS. So I do see a lot of Glocks. I also see a lot of SIGs. Even 226s, 320s. There was an M18 up there. I'm just like, wow. I mean, it's a lot of SIGs. And another one, it's the big one, is the Walther PDP.
Mm-hmm.
I see, man, sometimes they'll have like 2 or 3 of those in there, and some of them look brand new. And I'm like, I'll look at it and I'm like, is this thing really used, or did y'all take it out of the back? And and they're like, no, the guy or the person bought it. They don't say guy, but the customer purchased it, shot it, whatever, didn't particularly like it, or it didn't work correct for them, and they traded it in and bought something else. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Not saying it's bad. It's just, that's probably the 3 most, and you're right about ARs. I mean, they are saturated. Any new company that comes out with like a new AR, it better be like something completely different. If they're just saying this is our version of it.
Yeah, it's not. Well, that's part of the problem. It's just like Glock. It's been done, and it's not evolving very much. I mean, AR is a phenomenal platform. I've got several, so I have no problem with it at all. But there's nothing new really with ARs. Nothing revolutionary. I mean, there are little bits and pieces here that are kind of nifty every once in a while, but that's really it. So it's just, companies putting out the next model of this or that. It's a new model number. It's a new SKU. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Paul has a question for you. KS, do you feel like staccato pistols are overhyped? I personally rented one at the range, in Austin. I've been there and wasn't impressed at all, especially for the price.
So are they overhyped? I don't know. Here, get rid of the question, will you?
I am. I'm taking
there.
it
You go. There you. I know. I felt like I had to look.
I was trying to tap it, and for some reason, it wouldn't go away.
Overhyped, probably not. I mean, you're paying for good quality, phenomenal shooting experience, all of that. But I guess you have to ask yourself, what's it for? Most people aren't going to be carrying them. Sure, there are people that do, but I know, I get it. But most people, the lion's share of people that have a staccato are not carrying it for a couple of reasons. It's too expensive to carry. Most people don't want to potentially sacrifice that firearm if something were to happen, right? Or they don't like the idea of the single action carrying. Again, maybe not comfortable with the safety and all that. You got to practice like you do, whatever. But is it overhyped? Probably not. I mean, if you have the money to spend on something and you want a well-made firearm, very well-made firearm, I would say it's not custom. It's kind of production, semi-custom, because somebody is hand filing some things, but they're not whittling it down from a bar of steel necessarily. Yeah. But good quality, good shooting experience, all those things, phenomenal trigger, all that stuff. There's a lot to love about them. There absolutely is. And again, I've owned quite a few. So yeah. I can't make fun of myself or anyone else for having one. For the average consumer, is the juice worth the squeeze? Probably not. Probably not, unless you just, we've had some people that have some money, some disposable income, that maybe don't own any guns or have one or two, and they really want something to kind of blow themselves and everyone else away, and they want to get a Staccato, sure, go for it. There's no shame in that at all. You're going to have a great time. You're going to brag to your buddies that you got it. Win-win for you, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, is it worth the squeeze for everyone? Probably not. Is it overhyped? No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. Is an Atlas overhyped? Yes. Yeah, great gun. Nothing wrong with it. I've played around with a few over the years, but a $6,000-7,000 gun, whatever, that's tough.
Yeah, and I've shot the Atlas and stuff, and I mean they are great guns, but in my opinion, the MPA is right there with it. The thing I do really appreciate for Atlas is their grip, where you can build the palm swells on the side. You know, their new Gen 2 grip, that is pretty nice. But
Yeah.
Is it $7,000 nice? Yeah, that's for someone to decide.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have the money to do it and you want to do it, go for it. You'll be blown away. But if you don't, what's it going to get you that maybe a Staccato wouldn't get you, I guess?
Yeah. And I will say this about Staccato. Their lifetime warranty is no joke. As y'all all know, my C2, I warped the frame on it. I had over 5,000 miles. The frame warped, and they did replace the whole complete gun. So I got a brand new gun, and we found out that it was a manufacturing defect when they coated it and anodized it and all the other stuff they do, I guess. It warped over time, but they say the new Gen 2 one will never do it. So, but they were good on their promise, not because I'm a YouTuber. They took care of it. I didn't even mention it until I already found out they were going to replace the gun. Keenan has a valid point. He's saying people are trading in their full-size PDPs for the PDF because it is a smaller grip. So that's a very valid point.
They must be good. I have not seen an F yet. We don't get a lot of Walthers coming through centerfire. I don't know if that's a Midwest thing or a Kansas thing. I don't know, but PDP and PPQ and that sort of thing is not usually on the map around our area. But I'd like to see an F because a lot of people have had great things to say about them. I'd like to handle one at some point.
Yeah, it's got the smaller grip. So if you have, medium to large hands, you might appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with that. I know people were joking around saying the F stood for female. Like some of the diehard Walther people were like, oh, if you got an F, you're a female. And I was like, hey, man, whatever fits your hand better is, what I would get. So, hello, Channel Cat. He is saying hi to both of us. Let's see here. Big J, do you think we will ever return or get a return of the good old Luger and broom handle Mauser? I don't think I own one. Maybe you do too, but popularity is pretty much off of those. I mean, unless you're an old collector and that's what you appreciate. I do have a buddy that has several of them, but they're not the hunting rifle of choice. They're heavy as hell. What are your thoughts on the new the Rock Island 5.0 and the lockup they created?
I haven't seen one in person. I've seen a couple of videos. I'd love to see one. I'm kind of intrigued about it a little bit. That was one of the more interesting things that came out of SHOT Show this year. At the same time, one thing that I'll tell a funny story. You guys know gun magazines by and large are just kind of junk, right? I mean, they're paid for advertisements and all that. Most of them are, not all of them, but most of them are. And you can pretty much tell. And so this was a magazine that has a YouTube channel. It's not Recoil. I'm sure some people would want to ask that, but it's another magazine. And this guy, there's an older gentleman, been shooting for however many 40, 50 years or whatever it is. And he was like, I have never held a better gun in my hand in my entire life. And I paused the YouTube thing and I sat back and thought, seriously?
I watched the same. It's funny you said that. I watched the exact same video, and I know exactly who you're talking about. And I said the same thing. I'm like, "What? Have you shot a lot of guns?"
So I'd like to handle it. I'd like to see what it's all about. But I struggle with any brand new thing being the greatest thing ever. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And Keenan and I've talked about this. I shot the PDP compact. Um, didn't I've shot it and shot it quite a bit. Honestly, it didn't do anything for me. And it had a dot on it. It had a light on it. It had all of that, like I would like it. But my P10C, my P10F, I could run circles around that gun. Now, granted, I didn't shoot it a lot. I mean, I shot it a lot that day, but I didn't, put in the time and all the effort and everything. But with that hunky slide, that big wide slide, it reminds me of the old Beretta APX. You're familiar with that gun. It just, I don't know. PDP just didn't do it for me. Not saying it's bad. It's just not for me.
Yeah, I would
So
agree.
I really have to have something, especially for another polymer gun. And I've said this numerous times. I think if you own a P10C or a P10F or a SIG 320 or a PDP or whatever, you can keep buying more polymer guns, but at the end of the day, one might have a little more lipstick on it or whatever, but you're kind of it's you're comparing an orange to an orange. I mean, it just there's not enough there for me.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. David is asking anyone here. Oh, I guess he's saying in the chat, know much about 10 millimeter pistols. Do you own any 10 millimeters?
Not anymore.
Yeah. I didn't think you did, but I wasn't for sure.
No, I had a couple. Rock Island Armory, a couple of 1911s from them. And they're fun guns. But to me, it's not a terrifically practical round. I mean, if I'm going to go for a bigger round, it'd probably be 45. Just because it's a little bit less expensive and suppresses very well. So I would just go from that angle. But 10 millimeter, I mean, it's got some practical application, especially if you want something on your side that maybe, when you're camping or something like that out in the wilderness, that would be a good choice for you.
Yeah, and see, if it were me, I'd probably want like a 460 Roland or something like that, even in those scenarios. But yes, if you getting a semi-automatic, I don't think 10 millimeter is a bad choice. I've owned bought four of them in the past. The Big Chief, and you're familiar with the old Smith and Wessons back in the day. I had a bunch of those, and I had a 1911 10 millimeter. People will forget that 10 millimeter has been around since like 1984. It's not a new round.
Yeah.
Not that anything's wrong with it. It's not. But
didn't Don Johnson carry one in
yes,
Miami Vice?
Yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't the only one. There was God, who was the other guy? There's been a couple of like detective people that carried them back in the day, but like I said, they're cool guns. I've shot them many times. A lot of people think, God, if you shoot that, it's going to blow the person 20 yards back. That's not true, but I mean, it is what it is. Let's see here. Pistol Pete wants a IFG Tanfoglio limited master in 10 millimeter. Need a strong belt.
Yeah. You would need a good belt for that. Yes.
Yeah. Tanfos make awesome guns. I mean, I've got a Tanfo stock too. I love it. It's a great gun. I have shot the Tanfo limited 10 millimeter. It's the real tricked out one, kind of like their version of the TSO. Great pistol. Highly, highly recommend it. Matter of fact, at one time I was like, man, if I bought one, it would probably be that or a Dan Wesson 10 millimeter. The 6-inch Hunter is pretty badass, but I personally don't have any reason for a 10 millimeter. So, Bald is saying, Big Johnson Guns and Gear Grand Power has a lifetime warranty and replace gun for me as well. That's good, man. I mean, if a company is going to stand behind their product and offer a lifetime warranty like Ruger, Smith and Wesson, a lot of them do, but some of the imports, where they're imported or whatever, that's where you can run into problems, because if they change importers or whatever, you could have issues with it. But, anything can happen. It's mechanical. Shit breaks.
Yeah.
I don't beat up Smith or Staccato over that. It was an issue. And it just happened, and they made it right. So that's all I expect. Joseph is asking, in your opinion, are MBX mags worth the extra money?
I'm going to ask a really dumb question. What's an MBX mag?
MBX they make a lot of different mags for 2011s. It's kind of like a more custom magazine. It's got the base plate on it, different follower, different springs. Um, I will say this about MBX, and I have like 10 of their mags. Uh, they're great magazines. They make phenomenal magazines. The followers are great. And what's funny on my MBX versus some of my staccatos, the way that they make their power spring, it's a stiffer spring. So they are a little more difficult to load. However, I have had not one issue with an MBX mag. Not that I ever have issues with the newer generation staccatos. I had some of the older staccato mags, the Gen 1, and they were shit. So, but if you have the Gen 2 plus staccato mags, I've never had a problem with those either. Um, they are expensive, um, but I, I would say like a couple of my guns will only, well, put it this way. One gun I have is strictly designed for a specific MBX mag because it doesn't have a mag well and it has a lip at the back, my MPA. However, I can run staccato mags. They just need to be a little bit longer to pass the lip. But I mean, they're great mags. I've never had a problem with one, but are they a must? I don't think so. However, for like Bull Armory and stuff, finding their mags sometimes are difficult, and MBX makes them. So if you need Bull Armory mags and stuff, MBX is a good choice. So,
Hmm.
let's see. This is a good one. David's asking, anyone know of a 1911 clone in 10 millimeter with big mag size? I know of a bunch.
Well, tell them for Pete's sake.
Oh, I was waiting. I was going to let you have this one. Rock Island makes one. I've shot them. They're okay. I'm not saying they're horrible, but I had some issues with them. You've got Rock Island. You've got Tanfo. I would highly recommend Tanfos. Um, you've got Smith and Wesson. I don't have any experience with those, but on a 1911. I would let's see. Yes, God, Nighthawk makes one. I forget the damn name of it. It's pretty rare, but you can find them. I think they'll build it, but they're not cheap. Um, but those are just some that might work for you. There's another one out there, and I just can't remember the damn name.
Hmm.
But let's see here. Do you have any Dan Wessons anymore?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay, I thought you did. What do you have?
I have a Guardian 9mm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they make a hell of a gun.
Mm-hmm. They do.
I mean, if I was gonna buy just strictly a 1911, Dan Wesson's the way I would go.
Yeah, I'd like to get a specialist at some point in time. That would be the next 1911 for me.
Okay. Yeah, I really like them. Okay, Richard is asking, what is the best carry ammo for 9mm?
I mean, are we talking just bullet design or are we talking brand? I mean, bullet design, I mean, I would recommend Hollow Points for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
But as far as brand and everything goes, that's really up to you. And it's also what's going to run well in your gun because some guns are going to be finickier than others, if that's a word. I mean, I really like Federal HST. That's probably my flavor of choice. But pick up 2, 3, 4 brands, try them out in your gun, see what works best, see what feels best to you, and runs reliably.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with that. Is if y'all have been following me forever, I'm an HST fan. I've been running HST for damn near ever since it came out, probably. That is my preferred because I've tested against frozen pig heads back in the day, and it worked great. I do prefer 124 non plus P. I don't need it. That kind of gives me the difference between the 115 and the 147. I like a 124, so a little extra penetration, a little faster than a 147, but not as fast as a 115. So, and there's been great, gel testing and all of this other stuff, but it seems to open up every time I've tested it. It's opened up. I'm not a gel connoisseur, but like I said, I've shot pig heads with it before, and it definitely works. Dug them out. So that's what works for me. But just like KS said, test ammo, see what you think. And
Hmm.
some people will just buy the cheapest hollow point 9mm that's out there and load it in their gun and stick it in the nightstand. They don't even know if it's going to work. And there are some out there that don't run in some guns correctly. So definitely test your ammo. Brian is asking Big Johnson job update. Still nothing. Had interviews. Just waiting for the second interviews. Blah blah blah. Nothing completely locked down. It's very weird out there right now. When you're trying to get the type of job that I had in the past. I'm not saying it has to be the same, but it's just different. Let's see here. Norwood's in the house. Oh, here we go. I like this one. Rich B is asking, is the P10F competition worth the extra money or just a gimmick?
I would say it's not. I mean, if you really want a P10 and you want the full size one, just get a P10F and call it good. Maybe do a little trigger work and I mean that competition one they didn't do anything trigger wise to it really. To me, what's the good? I mean, if you like a little bling on it, sure, knock yourself out. But I'd say just get a regular one.
Yeah, it's got a little bit, and I'm a P10 fan. It's got a little bit of extra length on the barrel. Not a big deal. The HB trigger looks cool, but it's really not any better than the stock one. I've played with it. And yes, KS is right. You get the little mag base plates and all that little gold stuff on it. Honestly, it is not worth the extra money. I love my P10F. It's a tack driver, great pistol, optic. I got all the optics and everything on it. The P10F is way overrated. And I think you can find that out from other reviewers, but I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's just like people thought it was cool because it looked a little different, had some bling on it, but that was a money grab in my opinion. And y'all know I love CZ, but that was a fail. Let's see here. Brian is saying proof the fantastic plastics are no longer hot. Just look at the Icarus grip models. They have been sold out forever. Also M&P metal and other metal framed handguns. What's your opinion on that?
Metals in style. I don't know enough about Icarus to know what their stock looks like. I mean, some companies can only make so much at a time. So limited production means limited availability. But I could be wrong about that, but that would be my guess. But their stuff looks cool, and a lot of people have said good things about them. But yeah, I think heavier frames are definitely coming into vogue a little bit. And I mean, more people are probably realizing that even though the plastic fantastics, you're saving some weight. So from a carry perspective, that's fantastic. But for any other situation, home defense, plinking with buddies at the range, competition, anything like that, go big or go home, man. The biggest gun that you can manage is going to be the most fun to shoot. I mean, that's the physics behind it. I mean, anytime I work with newer shooters, especially female shooters, they come in and they see a little teeny small gun. They're like, that's the one I want. It's going to be the easiest to shoot. Totally incorrect. 110% incorrect. Usually the smaller guns take more skill, more practice, and they're harder to shoot. They're snappier guns. Go take it. We'll just say here, try the big one first. Just try it first, and they'll come back. Yep, you were right. That's a great gun. This is fun to shoot. It's great. I don't need to see anything else. I mean, heavier guns are great.
Yeah, and I try to relate it to other people. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, this is small. I can put it in my purse, or I can put this in my pocket, or whatever. It still at the end of the day has a 9mm coming out of it, or a 380, or whatever it might be. And having more control, having more grip on the gun where you can anchor it down and actually use the pinky. A lot of people don't realize this, but you get a lot of leverage from your damn pinky. So if you can't put your pinky on it, it's just kind of dangling around there. And then you end up teacupping or doing something weird to compensate for it. So I always say carry the biggest gun that fits and the biggest gun that you can, like, if you had to grab that sucker in a panic situation, you're not going to miss the grip like I do on some of the small ones. But I think people, and I've even asked people, I think they're kind of getting bored of the Tupperware, like we were talking about before. It's just saturated with the marketplace. So when they see an alloy or steel or something different, they're like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." And also, and I've proven this to buddies of mine, you've got a little light, small gun, and you're like, "Bang! Oh yes, look, I hit a bullseye." It's like, okay, great. But what if the guy's running at you and you've got to dump 5 or 6 rounds at him? I'm like, give me a rapid fire shot, and they're like, bah, 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 and then it looks like a damn shotgun went off. I'm like, that's the thing. It's under panic situations, rapid. You've got your adrenaline going. There's a lot of things where weight or size can help with that. So don't underestimate yourself. Yeah, you might just carry it around like a little paperweight, but when you need it, you need it. So.
Yeah.
Yes, and Radama is saying for self-defense or for defense 9mm, I run a mixed magazine. I will use hollow points and FMJs in the same mag. I run 24 or 147. I like FMJs for penetration. I've kind of said this before. What is your opinion on FMJs?
I mean, for practice, I think that's fine. And then PDWs, oftentimes I'll just run those. I mean, I might have a stick of hollow points, but everything else is just going to be full metal jacket, typically 147, because again, running suppressed. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with full metal jacket for their intended purpose. They wouldn't be my first choice for self-protection unless I was carrying like a 380.
Yeah. And that's a valid point. On all 380s, I would make sure it's reliable. I would make sure it's reliable and functional. But I would only carry an FMJ for a 380. That's my opinion. And then also, and in my truck, personal defense, I carry hollow points, and I don't mix and match them. They're all hollow points. However, on extra magazines in the truck for the same pistol, I do carry FMJs because if you're in the truck, you might have to shoot through concrete, car doors, whatever it might be. And if I've got to dump it, I've got to dump it. So, there is definitely some things for that because FMJs will definitely give you more penetration through car doors and things like that. So, I mean, you hit, a block of a car door, it's not going to go through. We know that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And just like you said, in PDWs and stuff like that, if you've got to use it for maximum penetration, use it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see here. Yeah, and we're getting really close. But first, I do want to thank KS for being on, and all of you new people. KS 1776. We used to have the Three Guys Gun Chat. Gosh, how long did we do that? Was it like?
Well, three or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. Yeah, it was a long time. So every Wednesday we do the Three Guys Gun Chat. Everybody got busy, and I understand things happen, but we still talk. So everybody's asked, are you still friends with KS? Are you still friends with 1776? And I'm like, of course, but with family and stuff like that, stuff happens. So, but let's see. Anything else anything else you're kind of looking forward to or hoping for? Let's put it this way. Anything in the gun world that you would hope would come out? Is there anything you're like, man, I wish somebody would make this? Is there any gun like that you've been thinking about? Rifle, shotgun, pistol, whatever.
All SBRs removed from the NFA.
Oh, well, yeah, we all know that. But I mean, is there any if you could think of like a particular gun that if it came out, you would buy it, you would have to have it?
The Cheetah was the one, man. That was the one. They did the thing I would have wanted anyone to do. So no. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah, and there's nothing really, I thought, okay, well, this would be cool, then maybe they'll come out with it, but there's nothing that I would say other than some of the laws or rules or whatever you want to call them. There's nothing that I would absolutely have to have. I did want to, gosh, what was I going to ask you? Something I'm going to ask you.
Rabbi.
What did he say?
Rabbi, will you guys be live streaming together next week from the Walmart?
No. No, we're not going to be in any Walmart bathrooms or anything like that.
Uh,
So that's not going to happen. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Have you? Yeah, you can use my discount code for Lock Grips. Did Have you had a chance to shoot a DWX yet? Okay.
nope.
Yeah, I haven't either. I was just curious because I've had some people ask me, and I was like, well, KS is at the gun store, so I didn't know if y'all had got any in or you'd played around with one yet.
Well, even if we had gotten one in, we wouldn't have been shooting it. So
No, I just meant like, like if you sold it to somebody and then that person
uh,
was like, hey, do you want to try it or any of that?
we've taken one transfer in, and I was not there. So
Oh,
I didn't get to see it.
okay.
I'd like to see it. At this point, I most of the people that I talk to, at least locally, don't give a rip about it anymore.
Yeah.
Whether Dan Wesson meant to do it or not, they really screwed themselves on that gun, and I think they lost a lot of hype and leverage.
Yeah. I agree.
I mean, a lot of people moved on. 2011s have taken over the scene in that vein of firearms. So the DWX is far less special than it was 3 years ago when it was announced, or 2 years ago, or I think 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah. Because if you remember, I was waiting for the DWX before I even bought my first Staccato.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, I'm waiting. And then it got too long. And I basically said, screw it. I'm getting 2011s. And now I love CZ, don't get me wrong, or Dan Wesson. Of course, CZ owns them. But um, there's a lot of things I like about it. But I also think, man, with that long delay, they should have came out with Optic Ready right out of the box. I know it's coming in Q2. I've already talked to somebody, but it's way too late. Again, late to the party. Rodeman has a quick question. You probably have an answer. Have you shot the SIG P10 carry?
Yeah,
210 carry.
I've got the carry and the standard, not the target with the funky grip. I don't like the funky grip very much, but I do have two of them, and the carry is just awesome. 210 is a great gun. It's a great trigger, great gun. You really have to like single action, but if you like something that sits disturbingly close to the hand, very low bore, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I've seen them. I just haven't shot one yet, so I don't personally have any experience with them. I did shoot the old. What is the old version? The big one. What's the name of it? The Sig.
I mean, it's just a 210 target.
Yeah, the original. I guess way back in the day, I did shoot one of those way a long time ago, and I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. But I haven't shot any of the new ones or any of that. So, but anything else in parting? And again, thank you so much for being on. And is your channel still? Do you still got a lot of subscribers and stuff on your old YouTube channel?
I don't know. Perhaps I really don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's sort of sitting in kind of frozen carbonite there. But anyway, so no, thanks for having me, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great to see familiar faces, familiar screen names, if nothing else out there. Glad to know people are still into the whole pew pew thing.
Yeah, yeah. Really great time. I'll let y'all go ahead and jump off. We'll send y'all off. KS, stay on real quick, and we'll catch up on a couple of things. But y'all all have a great night. Thank you so much. If you want to check out my other channel, it's Big J's Pit Stop. There's a link in the description that's pinned. So, or not the description, in the comments that's pinned. And you can go over there and check it out. I'd appreciate it. And thank y'all so much for joining us this evening. Really meant a lot. And check out, if you want to go over and check out some really great gun reviews from back in the day, go over and check out KS Gun Guy. So thank y'all so much, everyone. Y'all have a great night and carry on.